Hi, everyone. It's a special edition of Real Talk here as we're coming to you live from the Donald Payne School of Technology here in Essex County. Just wrapping up here in attendance for the New Jersey Globe Republican primary gubernatorial debate here. As you all know, folks, I am the generational talent in Garden State media and the hero you need right now more than ever, Fernando Uribe. And again, happy Tuesday to you all. Once again, Real Talk is on the road here in Newark, New Jersey, and a very interesting debate between State Senator John Bramnick, 101.5 FM radio personality Bill Spadea, and former state assemblyman and 2021 gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli. So a little bit of a post-game, as they say, wrap-up here at the Donald Payne Essex County School of Technology. And I got to tell you, it was very, very much more subdued than the previous two debates, as we saw in February at Rider University, which was also hosted by the New Jersey Globe, coincident, as well as on New Jersey and Rider University, of course, and Safe Jersey as well. Certainly much more decorum today, and also even much more decorum than last week at NJ Spotlight News at the Gateway Center in Newark, New Jersey, and certainly tonight's final debate of the primary season, again, with just about 2 weeks to go here. The Republicans made their case after the Democrats sort of lay out their vision this past Sunday. And some highlights that just sort of caught my eye tonight, folks. And I have to say to you that, I think Jack Ciattarelli looked really good today. I would argue that Bill Spadea came out swinging. He had to. Certainly the endorsement of President Trump was something that he was not expecting. He was expecting certainly for it to come his way. State Senator John Bramnick obviously came out swinging as well. But we always know that when it comes to Senator Bramnick, he's very subdued and very measured. Again, that's the attorney in him. So it's not a surprise, but, to his credit, and, I've been someone that hasn't been a very fan of State Senator Bramnick during this primary season when it comes to policy and substance. But I felt he handled himself well tonight, without question. Again, let's get back to sort of some of the basics here. Affordability and property taxes, as we all know. And folks, you hear about it every Monday night here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Without a doubt, having the highest property taxes in the country certainly is a distinction that I know we're not proud of here in New Jersey at well over $10,000. Certainly, we've seen the gas tax go up again this year on January the 1st. Was the final phase of sort of a slow transition going back to the Chris Christie administration, but obviously we're paying now 47 cents more per gallon here in the state of New Jersey. Now, again, the cost of crude oil has gone down, which is a benefit for Republicans. Obviously, the economy is looking better. We're seeing tariff deals being done by the President of the United States and obviously our biggest trade competitor in China. We also saw, obviously, another prisoner being freed from Gaza, in addition to seeing a plethora of criminals and illegals being snatched up on our streets, thankfully, due to the great efforts of all the hardworking men and women with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. Folks, take your pick here. We're seeing, again, the cost of crude oil going down. We are seeing the stock market soaring like it hasn't in some recent years. And we have the lowest levels of inflation since 2021. So certainly Republicans have momentum in 2025, which obviously is carrying over from 2024. Again, folks, just remember, Donald Trump came within 5 points of almost winning New Jersey this past November. Again, that was as close as it's ever been since 1988, when the last Republican to win New Jersey in a presidential campaign was George Herbert Walker Bush. So that's a pretty long time ago, again, in New Jersey political history. But Donald Trump came very close this past November. Now, again, to say nothing of the fact that Kamala Harris was an atrocious candidate. But again, that momentum for Republicans has carried over. In recent years, when we've seen Democrats have, for the most part, a very big voter registration advantage, well, guess what's happened? What we've seen, obviously, is more than 1 million registered Democrats, and now Republicans have shaved into that deficit, where now only the disadvantage is a little over 800,000. So without a doubt, folks, I mean, again, Republicans are making inroads in 2025. Obviously, we saw counties being flipped all across this country, but we saw some counties and municipalities flipping in 2024. So certainly it's a Republican year if the Republican Party has a strong, united message. And I felt that was certainly the case today. Again, and a shout out to the great panel tonight, obviously led by David Wildstein, the editor of the New Jersey Globe, along with Micah Rasmussen, the director of the Institute of American Politics at Rider University, certainly New Jersey Globe reporter Joey Fox, as well as Save Jersey editor-in-chief Matt Rooney, and of course, as they say, the captain of the team, right, the lead moderator, Laura Jones from On New Jersey. So great stuff by everybody really in the, during this debate. And again, as we started talking about, obviously affordability and property taxes, I think all three candidates tonight came up with a very, very clear vision about how to cut some spending. Obviously, Bill Spady was very emphatic about cutting almost $1 billion out of the budget when it comes to Rutgers University. Now, again, as an alumnus, obviously that stung a little bit, but folks, there is a reality. Rutgers University and their spending has become literally out of control in recent years. Certainly the head football coach and the head basketball coach collectively earn over $7 million a year. I mean, that's kind of crazy when it comes to salaries for coaches. But regardless of that, again, that's sort of the price you pay when Rutgers University decided to join the Big Ten. Obviously, you want to be comparable to other coaches in the conference, and of course, to be competitive against some of the other major schools that occupy the Big Ten, right? But certainly trying to cut wasteful spending. We've heard for many years, folks, the idea about, consolidated services, about shared services, about maybe shaving down the amount of municipalities in New Jersey. Yes, we have 21 counties. We have over 500 municipalities, but over 600 school districts. And I think that all three Republicans tonight, I think, made a case about shrinking not just the size of government in Trenton, but shrinking down the size of sort of the academic bureaucracy that's engulfed our public schools in New Jersey. And especially with, a lot of schools in Central and South Jersey that have tried experimenting with shared services. That's not a bad thing, right? So certainly, we start off with that. In addition to certainly trying to, a very sensitive subject here in New Jersey, was trying to talk about, obviously, immigration and law enforcement, which is obviously a very different tone than what we saw on Sunday night with the Democrats, who had a debate here, once again, at the Donald Payne Essex County School of Technology. Now, folks, let's be very clear here. Obviously, and one big issue that came up, obviously, the first question that was asked by Joey Fox, talking, and again, I know Joey has to be, accurate here. Obviously, we don't want to jump the gun when it comes to what's been in the news cycle lately, and that's U.S. Representative Monica McIver, right? And we all know, again, there's nothing alleged about it. I mean, we saw Monica McIver assault a federal ICE officer. I mean, it's in clear sight. I mean, obviously, when you look at her, and I mean, she's, obviously, it doesn't take much for her to get into contact with someone when, in a very enclosed space. So clearly, we have seen the body cam footage. We have seen Representative McIver clearly assault an ICE agent. Now, coincidentally, in the same week, interim U.S. Attorney Adina Hava, right, is decided to not charge Newark Mayor and Democrat primary candidate Ross Baraka, but he's decided to charge Representative McIver, which is the right call here. And certainly, I think all three candidates were in agreement that you can't be jumping and assaulting federal officers. If that was a regular person like you or I, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, folks, if you just joined us live, like, comment, and share tonight's post-game wrap-up here as Real Talk is on the road at the Essex County School of Technology here in Newark for tonight's New Jersey Globe Republican primary debate. And again, just sort of getting back to the question about law enforcement and immigration. I mean, again, folks, it's very clear about what Representative McIver did in front of the ICE facility. Now, again, listen, she can go on MSNBC tonight with Peppermint Patty, right? I think, right? She's going on that show tonight. And she's been on other shows, of course, on left-leaning networks. We even saw Ross Baraka on CNN last night. And of course, folks, I mean, let's realistically thank the Lord for Scott Jennings on CNN, because he cleaned his clock and he reminded him, like, listen, there's no ambiguity here. Representative McIver assaulted a federal officer. Okay? Certainly, Ross Baraka did not commit a crime, and obviously, coincidentally, Adina Hava is choosing not to charge him. But charging Representative McIver is the right call. I know many on Sunday night tuning in, and I'm sure many Democrats in New Jersey and many progressives, and again, all the social justice clowns and all the woke fools seem to be on this sort of united front that, McIver's being made an example of. No, it's not being made an example. You can't go assault federal officers, Representative McIver. And I think that message was loud and clear today. But again, getting back to just immigration, certainly it was refreshing to see all three Republican candidates tonight say very openly that upon day one, they're going to end the sanctuary statehood here in New Jersey. And I think that's a welcome thing, folks. I think allowing the federal government and ICE officers to work with local police to round up all these criminal illegals, I think is a good thing. Okay. And obviously, we also talked about tonight among the candidates, certainly whether or not bringing back capital punishment was a good idea. As we all know, folks, back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, then Governor John Corzine, along with a Democrat-controlled legislature, decided to constitutionally abolish capital punishment here in New Jersey. Now, listen, folks, we've seen in recent news cycles, obviously, some heinous crimes committed in New Jersey. We saw a 14-year-old gang member, gun down a police officer. Okay, we've seen a lot of violent offenders committing crimes in New Jersey. Obviously, all three candidates tonight were very much in agreement about bringing back capital punishment for very serious offenders. And isn't it interesting, folks? Haven't we heard during this election cycle, right? We've heard Ross Baraka and the city council of Newark talk about we should get 16 and 17-year-olds to get involved in our election process and, allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections. But somehow, the brain is properly formulated for a 16 and 17-year-old to vote in elections. But folks, the left here in New Jersey is very hesitant to allow prosecutors, for example, to charge this 14-year-old gang member as an adult, which is consequently, which is what's being proposed here. So can someone explain this to me? Because again, a lot of the progressives and all the social justice cons and woke fools in New Jersey, talk out of both sides of their mouth. In one hand, a 14-year-old, you can't charge him as an adult for this violent crime because, a 14-year-old doesn't really understand the consequences of his actions. But somehow, in that same breath, progressives and the left in New Jersey think that 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds are of the right mindset to vote. Can someone explain that to me? Again, because, that's the problem with progressives, folks. Their hearts are in the right place, but as usual, their heads are up their asses. But let me not digress. Certainly, without a doubt, the candidates tonight talked about that. They certainly talked about affordability. They also talked about realistically what to do with SALT, obviously. And in addition to that, let's be honest, sticking up for law enforcement, which is something you don't see on the American left too often. Sticking up for police officers, sticking up for making sure that police officers, don't have qualified immunity removed from them, that we don't sort of allow these, civilian review boards with subpoena power running rampant in our cities. That's a big talking point, for example, folks, in Hudson County where I live, right? Now, again, if you want to get civilian review boards within our municipalities, I'm all for that, but I'm very fickle about who I want in these civilian complaint review boards. I want criminal justice professionals. I want attorneys, okay? I want, for example, other criminal justice professionals. But the idea of just having a civilian complaint review board and thus giving them subpoena power to regular citizens. I mean, folks, let's be honest. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for activists to go and grandstand in front of these civilian complete review boards. I'm not for that. So kudos to Bill Spadia, Jack Ciarelli, and John Bramnick for making sure that they shoot that down. Obviously, should they win the primary and subsequently become the governor in November. Folks, I got to tell you, this is a Republican year here in New Jersey. There's a lot of optics. Now, again, I've talked about this on my show, which, again, folks, you can check out every Monday Night Live at 6 p.m. Eastern time by going to Facebook Live via stream and also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on X, on Instagram, and also on LinkedIn. But, folks, it's very, very simple. If the economy continues to go in a positive direction, again, inflation continues to go down at its lowest it's been in 4 years, by the way. If we continue to see the stock market blossoming and booming for everyday Americans, that's also a good thing. The cost of crude oil is going down. Subsequently, the cost of gas, and it'll be a little bit cheaper to fill up your gas tanks as the summer months are approaching. Again, here in New Jersey, that's not the case because of the gas tax. But we're seeing a lot of economic progress, folks, and we're also seeing a lot of progress when it comes to quality of life. It seems like many on the left and many Democrats in Washington seem to be more concerned about, staying up for the due process of wife beaters and illegal immigrants and people who are gang members than regular everyday Americans. And we've seen that. And certainly, without a doubt, I think all three Republican candidates tonight had the opportunity to give their position about what's going to happen on their campaigns. And folks, listen, this has been an exhausting primary season here in New Jersey, without a doubt. June 10th cannot come soon enough for all of us who cover politics for a living, who do this for, obviously as a business and as a profession. I can tell you, I'm pretty exhausted right now. I can't wait until June 11th, have a nice glass of scotch and relax and sort of refresh my batteries for what lies ahead for the rest of the summer and obviously the rest of the election season here in New Jersey. Again, I don't want to sort of put some, predictions right here, but again, as anything else, if you ask me to pick a winner coming up on June 10th, based on tonight's performance and the other two performances, folks, you got to believe Jack Chiarelli is the front runner here, not just because of the endorsement of Donald Trump. And by the way, folks, if you check out the media scrum on the New Jersey Globe YouTube page, you can tell very clearly, obviously, the very good questions asked by New Jersey's premier journalist. But having said that, Jack Chiarelli received the endorsement of President Trump. I would argue it's going to be imperative to get the president to New Jersey like he came last year. And you all remember, folks, that fateful Saturday afternoon in May down in Wildwood. I was there. Nice sunburn. I have to report on it, obviously. But I got to tell you, over 75,000 people crowded the beach there for Donald Trump. If Donald Trump comes to New Jersey, and by the way, have you checked the latest polling lately? Donald Trump is polling better than Phil Murphy right now in New Jersey. So if there's a chance to capitalize on the president's popularity, now is the time. So again, I don't want to disrespect the other candidates, but if you're asking me right now today, who's going to be the Republican nominee on the morning of June 11th, folks, you got to believe it's Jack Chiarelli. It's not just the endorsements. It's also been the raising money. He's done a good job in these debates. Bill Spade's done a good job as well, folks. And even John Bramnick. Again, I was a little low on John Bramnick early on in the process, but he's picked it up a little bit. But again, it's still not enough. It seems a little bit too late in this process. And by the way, again, shout out to Bill Spadia. We're friends. Certainly, I liked a lot about what his candidacy represents. But without the endorsement of Donald Trump, I mean, it's a big hill to climb for Bill Spadia. So I just got to tell you, again, great debate tonight. I can't say enough about the great work, the great questions, and really the ability to sort of keep the decorum during the evening. Because, folks, this could have gone off the rails real quick here. Again, sort of, what we saw in the first two debates. But again, shout out to David Wildstein, Micah Rasmussen, Laura Jones, Joey Fox, Matt Rooney. Again, great job by all of them, keeping order, maintain civility tonight. Again, that's what you want in a debate. That's what you want in these candidate forums, in these town halls during this election season, not just for Republicans, but also for Democrats. So again, folks, I'm just about to wrap up here as I am live in the Donald Payne Essex County School of Technology here in Newark. And again, I want to thank them for their hospitality and again, allowing me to do this post-game wrap up here at the New Jersey Globe debate here, the final one of this election cycle here, once again hosted by the New Jersey Globe and sponsored by Uber, and of course also sponsored by Rider University, as well as On New Jersey and Save Jersey as well. So folks, again, if you're just tuning in live, takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've counted. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Jersey First, of course, on our YouTube page, on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and X, and of course, also download all of our podcasts, which are available on Spotify or SoundCloud. So, folks, again, that's my wrap up here as we are live once again at the Donald Payne Essex County School of Technology here for tonight's final Republican gubernatorial primary debate hosted by the New Jersey Globe. So, again, folks, thank you so much for tuning in here tonight. Again, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Please party responsibly. Again, don't drink and drive. Take an Uber or a Lyft. Take care of yourselves. It might be good weather, so whether you're down the Jersey Shore, whether you're day drinking in Hoboken, whether you're down near South Jersey, wherever it is, folks, once again, enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Remember what Memorial Day weekend means. Yes, it's great to have barbecues and meet friends and go dancing and whatever, but let's remember why it's important. Let's honor all the great men and women that have given everything to our republic over the centuries, really. And let's honor all of them this Memorial Day. Just take a few seconds, folks. Take a few minutes and just honor everyone who has served. That's the true meaning of Memorial Day. Once again, this is the generational talent in Garden State Media, and certainly the hero you need right now because, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the establishment media in New Jersey continues to lie to you on a daily basis. But guess what? I never will. I'm Fernando Uribe. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Once again, happy Memorial Day weekend. Please party responsibly. Special programming note, no program this Monday. We'll have Guttenberg Mayor Wayne Zitt coming up this Tuesday, the 27th of May at 6 p.m. Eastern Time in the latest edition of Real Talk. We're here with Jersey First TV. Folks, once again, enjoy yourselves. And thank you so much for watching this post-game wrap-up here as Real Talk is on the road at the Essex County Donald Payne School of Technology for tonight's gubernatorial debate. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and have a great, great night.